Turn your mind on and your TV off. It's time to hear the real truth behind what's really going on. Join Tia Severino, an advocate for truth, freedom, and spiritual growth, as she explores the real story behind what we are made to believe on her show, The People's Truth. In the next hour, you'll be exposed to shocking revelations, to lies you have believed in all your life. Together with her guests, she will unravel the facts behind the current events, health, wellness, faith, justice, and more. As Orwell said, in a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. Join the conversation, leave a comment, or call in live 678-495-4345. Don't forget to like, share, and help spread the great message out. And now, here's Tia Severino.
Hello, and welcome to The People's Truth, where we dig deep into the issues that are really affecting our world. I'm your host, Tia Severino, and in this episode, I'm pleased to be bringing you Dr. Eric Plasker of the 100-Year Lifestyle. Dr. Plasker is an incredible speaker. I've heard him speak a few times. I wanted to bring him and his fresh perspective to my audience today to talk about some of the things that are going on in the world and also how you can live your best, most productive life, live up to your full potential without the unnecessary medical interventions and other nonsense that we have being foisted on us from every direction right now in the world. So with all of that being said, I'd love to introduce my guest. Welcome, Dr. Eric, to the show. I hope you don't mind if I refer to you as Eric or Dr. Eric.
Please do. Call me whatever makes you happy. Dr. Eric is fine. Eric is fine. I'm just excited to be with you. What you're doing is great. The People's Truth. We've been speaking truth to the people, 35 years in practice now. And boy, if we ever needed truth, now is the time, Tia. So great to be here.
Amen to that. So just, if you don't mind, for those who don't know who you are, can you give just a little bit about your background, how you got into chiropractic and natural health? Let the folks get to know you just a little bit.
Sure. Well, at the age of 15, I was playing football. At the time, I had this really big orange afro. People can't believe it now when they see my shiny head. But I got hurt playing football, got carried off the field, taken to the hospital. The doctor gave me a choice. He said, well, take these drugs, probably an opioid derivative. Don't play for 30 days. And fortunately, I heard him say, hey, drugs equal don't play. And I said, you know what? I want to play. So the next day I went to a chiropractor, Ernie Landy, Spring Valley, New York. He adjusted me and I played that afternoon without any pain, and it changed my life. And
wow.
So from there, I started to learn about human potential and came down to Atlanta, Life University. Back then it was Life Chiropractic College in 1982. Got into practice in 1986, the year the Act. We'll probably get into that in a little bit. It's a big part of the history and the wisdom that we're bringing to you right now today. And then just fell in love with practice. And my wife and I, we met after I graduated. We had 3 kids. We raised them without shots, without drugs, without pediatricians. We learned about the body's ability to heal itself and how to function it that way for a lifetime. And so now here we are, tens of thousands of patients later. We have a network of 100-Year Lifestyle offices around the world, lots of books. We're training people, and we got a world to change. So the People's Truth is a great place for me to be with great people like you and your listeners.
Well, I just wanted to say, I'm sitting here thinking while you're talking about how much we love chiropractors. Chiropractors are amazing. I can't say enough good things. Life University has been a friend to Vaxxed for going way back. In fact, the first time I saw the movie Vaxxed was at Life University when Michelle Ford held her health summit following the protest rally outside the CDC. And it was an amazing event. And I've been to a few other Vaxxed-related events at Life University. So thank you to Life University for producing such amazing chiropractors, amazing people coming out of that school, just filled to the brim with the knowledge of how to correct any imbalances in the body, because chiropractic really is just about restoring balance. You see where there's subluxation of the spine that's causing the nerves to not function the way they should, which is causing a cascading down systems events. Every organ, every muscle, every part of our body is connected to the brain through the spine. So if anything is even just a little bit off, that information is not being transmitted properly, and it can have devastating health consequences. So if you're out of balance, out of whack, out of alignment, find a chiropractor near you. Very good chance that you won't need any other doctors if you have a good chiropractor. Now, that's not to say that there's not a place for emergency medicine. We certainly do know how to do emergency medicine and surgery in this country, but making those things less necessary and less likely that you will need them, chiropractic ranks right up there with the best of the healing modalities. And I certainly appreciate that you are doing that for those of us who want to keep our heads on straight.
Well, this has been a great show, Tia. Thank you. You've done a fine job.
So talk to me a little bit about this 100-year lifestyle. What does that mean? Are you talking about I might be able to live to 100 years? Is that kind of in there, or is it something else?
Well, it's interesting. When I got into practice, I was a kid. I got into practice when I was 23 years old. I took care of lots of athletes, babies, kids, families, newborn babies, people of all ages, shapes, and sizes, and amazing results. Like you just talked about, I was always blown away, in awe of the body's ability to heal itself, as long as you remove the interferences and let the body do its thing. And one day we had a 98-year-old man walk into my office, and he said to me, Dr. Plasker, can you help me? And I'm thinking to myself, I have no idea. I had never even seen a 98-year-old man before. So I said, Max, let's give it a shot. As long as you're alive and breathing and there's life flowing over your body, let's see what we can do. And wouldn't you know it, a month goes by, he's under regular care, and the pain lines on his face go away, and he starts to stand up straighter, and he's getting a little more pep in his step and more energy, you could tell, and he's smiling more. The pain lines go away on his forehead. Just amazing results. And I got really excited. We fell in love with this guy because he looked like he was on his deathbed when he came in, and now here he is at 98 years old doing fantastic. Wow. So we noticed a couple of things about Max, that at 98, when he came to see us, he was basically crippled, broke, and alone.
Oh.
He had no money. He would pay with his crinkled up dollar bills. He'd take his wrinkled up, crinkled up arthritic hands and put them on the counter with his dollar bills. He'd drop them on the counter. And at least this is what my assistant told us. And then he'd leave. He'd always say thank you. He'd shake my hand and say thank you. He was very grateful. And he was always alone. We would wonder, how big is that suitcase with dollar bills or that pillowcase? And so we offered to take care of him for free. And he just wouldn't take any charity. He was a very proud guy. We also noticed that he was always alone. And it broke our hearts because he was such a sweet soul. And we fell in love with him. We adopted him. We fed him. We'd give him rides. And we took care of him for a year straight. He was doing amazing results. Then something happened at 99 that had not happened before. Max missed an appointment. And we were concerned. We tried to track him down in all ways that we could figure out how to track him down, and we couldn't find him anywhere. And so 99 years old, what do you think we're thinking? Right? That he passed. So we say a little prayer for Max. We go about our business. We missed him. We loved him. And then a year goes by. He's now over 100 years old. And guess who comes walking through the front door one day without an appointment? Go ahead, guess. I promise you'll get it right. Max, right?
Max.
So Max comes in. I hear my assistant scream like she's seeing a ghost. And I'm in the back adjusting people. And I hear his name. She calls his name. And I'm like, Max, oh my God. I got really excited. I cleared out all the rooms. I went to the front, gave him a big hug. And he looked up at me, and I looked down at him, Tia, and he was literally white as a ghost. He looked like a man who was ready to go. His eyes were hollow. His bones were protruding through his face, basically. He had a tear coming down his cheek. And I asked him, I said, Max, where have you been? We've missed you so much. And he looked up at me and he said to me again, thank you, Dr. Plasker. Thank you. And died. Literally right there in the reception room.
What?
Yeah. And I was like, call 911, call 911. And I tried to revive him. Not a chance. Literally rigor mortis had already set in. His spirit was gone. I picked him up, carried him to the back of the office, laid him down on the table. The ambulance comes, takes him away, never to be heard from again. And so I couldn't get it out of my head that, wow, if Max had known that he was going to live to be 100 when he was 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, or even 80, how would he have lived his life differently so that he didn't get there crippled, broken, alone? And I started to think about a lot of the people that we were seeing in our practice. They would come in with all kinds of pain, sicknesses, problems that were caused by nerve imbalances, interferences in the body. And they would, 30 days after care, they would feel younger 30 days later than they did the day they got there. They'd be coming maybe for 6 months or a year. They'd make this transition from crisis care to lifestyle care, adopting the mindset that we were teaching them about human potential and quality of life. And literally a year later, 3 years later, 5 years later, 10 years later, these people would feel younger 10 years later than they did the day they walked into the office. And I realized, wow, age has nothing to do with the number. It has to do with how your body's functioning, your energy, the nerve supply, just the quality of life that you're living. And so I started to ask people, hey, if you knew you'd live to be 100, how would you change your life today? And the 100-Year Lifestyle was born. And we studied literally every area of lifestyle, put it in a package, called it the 100-Year Lifestyle, and it became an international bestseller. And with chiropractic care and all types of holistic, good for you, not toxic, very valuable ways to change and live your life. It's just been making a difference for now, really since 2007.
Wow. Thank you. That's an amazing way of explaining it. When you were sharing with me about Max, I could almost picture him in my mind, and what a powerful moment that he chose to come there to say goodbye, to say thank you, to say goodbye. And I bet you he knew somewhere in his soul that was going to impact you in a tremendous way. He probably made a deal with God. Just go visit this guy and change his life so that he can change the lives of countless other people down the line. And what a powerful way to think about it. How would you live your life if you knew you were going to live to be 100? Would you take better care of yourself? You know, I mean, they say that youth is wasted on the young. And I think about all of the destructive things that I've done. I'm paying for now. I'm only 51. I'm paying the price for the way that I thought I could live my life in my teens and 20s and early 30s. Not even really realizing the damage that I was doing, that I was wrecking my body. And now I'm 51. I feel like, man, I really just wish I could get back that vibrance and health that I had when I was in my early 20s. And I really didn't know that the way that I was living was going to impact me that way. So someone like me who's trying to be healthy and trying to get on the right track or get back on the right track, and 51 is still pretty young. How much of a challenge, how easy would it be for someone to turn things around at that point where you realize, oh, wait a minute, I better start living right. I better start eating right. I better start taking better care of my life. Let's talk about that when we come back from the break, how to raise your potential. We'll come back after the break.
Perfect.
The time to defy the modern agenda is now. UI Media Network presents Frequency Wars, an explosive new series that examines contentious subject matter pursuing us beyond our five senses. This weekly series discovers the intricacies of imposing issues that challenge our daily existence and question humanity. Provocative and intriguing, we confront the issues and conflicts affecting us on a global scale. Manipulation, manpower, or others simply controlling your mentality. The commentary and guests will shift our paradigm and defy the status quo.
In 1979, the so-called father of Israeli intelligence, a guy called Issa Harel, told an American journalist that there was going to be an Islamic attack on New York's biggest building.
Bill Gates, he is publicly saying we should consider microchipping all of humanity so we can track their vaccination status.
What you see in movies like The Avengers, that's actually true.
What will you believe? Frequency Wars challenges perception to take back your sovereignty. The power and purpose are greater than any of us, but we will test it all. Frequency Wars, the next revolution.
Welcome back to The People's Truth with Tia Severino. My guest today is Dr. Eric Plasker, who has come up with the 100-year lifestyle plan that is really impacting a lot of people across the world. So before the break, Dr. Eric, you were talking about Max, and I just noticed in the chat there was a question. I wanted to pose it to you. So did you ever find out what happened to Max during that year that he wasn't there? Did he get married?
It is amazing.
And go?
I never actually even thought about that question until I started telling the story. And now when I tell that story, everybody asks me that question.
What was he doing?
And we never found out what happened to Max. You said something that, I don't know if there was a backroom deal that he was going to make a difference in my life. I don't know. I don't know if he made that deal, but it certainly did. And it's changing people's lives literally every day. People go on 100yearlifestyle.com, hearing that whole story. That was the short version. Wait till you hear the long version of the story. But I think the biggest thing, to get back to your other question too, is that I think there's a lot of misconceptions, faulty premises about aging. You say you're 51. You are young, girl. You're halfway there.
Right.
And so, there's one of my favorite quotes out of the 100-year lifestyle is that your innate intelligence, your body's innate intelligence will organize around the choices you make, the thoughts that you think, and the lifestyle that you live. So when you start to change your life, you love the things that are good for you. You start to make changes. It's amazing how much younger and more energetic your body feels. Now, yes, there are limitations of matter. If you have areas of decay and things like that, they don't have to limit you. They may alter you to change up what you're doing. But the sooner you have that realization that, wow, I might live longer than I ever thought, and you start addressing those lifestyle changes, which really the 100-year lifestyle is a blueprint for change in every area of your life. You start to make the changes that you know you need to make. You get on a new path, and your body, your mind starts to follow. And so we get very excited because when people start to realize the faulty premises that they have lived by, as an example, when I say a faulty premise, a false belief that you think is true or real that you run your life by. So for example, here's a faulty premise. It's age's fault. I'm 51. It's my age. I'm 47, it's my age. I hear people say I'm 30, it's my age. Or I hear 20-year-old people say it's my age. And I see 80-year-old people that say, man, I'm feeling younger than ever. And so it's really a lifestyle. It's about making those changes. And, we have, have you heard the expression, people say they're living on borrowed time? The older people, well, that's a faulty premise. It's birthright time. When I did the research for the 100-year lifestyle, what I learned was that 100-year-old people was the fastest growing group percentage-wise. 100-year-old people, fastest growing group. And none of these people plan to live this long. In fact, when you look back at their life expectancy 100 years ago, their life expectancy scientifically was 50 years. So it's a generation that literally outlived their scientifically predicted life expectancy by 5 decades.
Wow.
And so we see them rotting away, sadly, many of them in nursing homes and assisted living centers, and we're blaming age and old age. But it's not age's fault. They just didn't know they were going to live this long. And then on the other side, you see people that are 80, 90, 100 years old that are running races and they're engaging in life and getting on the ground and playing with grandchildren and traveling the world. So we are blowing people's minds about longevity potential and human potential. And the earlier you find out about it and the more you raise your family this way, if you have young children and you get them thinking this way, the more likely you are to enjoy a quality century and beyond.
Wow. So where does somebody start? Can we look at, let's take someone like myself, for example. I'm 51. I made some poor choices when I was younger. Didn't take care of myself as good as I should have. Did some engaged in physical activity that have put stressors on my body. And so now I'm dealing with, some misalignment, some body aches, fibromyalgia. I have breast implant illness, so I'm working on detoxification, but I also overindulged when I was in my 20s with recreational things. So when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, I feel like I'm 80, but I don't want to feel like I'm 80. And I know that I need to exercise, and I know that and I'm doing everything that I can. But where would you, for somebody with a starting point like that, where would you say get started at?
Great question. And so I'm going to ask you some questions because and the same questions I would ask everyone that's watching and listening. So I'm going to ask Tia, but I'm also asking all of you. So all of you can answer these questions. So the first question is, do you know that there are changes that you need to make? Yes or no?
Absolutely.
Okay. And so if I were to ask you to make a list, and you don't have to tell us what that list is right now, you kind of gave us a few things, but could you make a list of those things right now that you know that you need to change?
Yes, I could.
Okay. Everybody's answering yes. There's not one no in the audience right now. Everybody's saying yes.
Yes.
So then the next question is, how long have you known that you've needed to make these changes? A week, a month, a year, a decade, longer?
Longer than I want to admit. And at the same time, and I think that most people qualify for this too, I've been working on trying to make and I believe sometimes you have to make little adjustments, because it's like when you go to see a chiropractor, he's not going to fix everything perfectly in that one office visit where you walk out and you're completely aligned and you stay that way. You have muscle memory, right? So we have a tendency to struggle with change. So implementing little changes all along. Yes, I've been trying to eat better. I've been trying to drink more water. I take supplements. I'm trying to exercise. But we all kind of backslide too. Like we make a commitment to ourselves that we're going to get on to a healthier vein. And then because life is what it is, we slip and we slide back into some of those behaviors, or maybe we don't stick with a healthy, beneficial lifestyle change because it's not convenient, or it takes effort, or let's face it, some of this stuff isn't fun. Exercising, especially when you've been out of shape for a while, it's not fun. It hurts. It actually hurts to exercise, and that even though you need to exercise to get out of the pain, and like for someone like me with fibromyalgia, and I know there's a lot of people out there struggle with that as well, you need to exercise to get out of pain, but then when you exercise, it causes pain, so you don't want to exercise. And it's kind of like a catch-22. But
yeah, so first of all, what you're saying is what a lot of people go through, and a lot of people that are watching and listening, they tell me that all the time. And so we do have 3 life-changing principles. We can get into them if we want to. What I would say, though, is that for everybody watching, if you have that same roller coaster ride that you're on because you're in and you're out, you need to burn the bridge behind you. You need to accept where you are and move forward. Time is on your side. Don't think that it's too late to start. Love the things that are good for you. All the things that you thought were treats were really tricks. You were taken by surprise. You were fooled. You were cheated. You were lied to. The tricks were treats. Excuse me. The treats, quote unquote, were really tricks in disguise. And so love the things that are good for you. And, you know, the first life-changing principle is change is easy. Thinking about change is hard. You know, it's thinking about it. It's not being fully committed. That's hard. I mean, there was a time almost 20 years ago that I was 60 pounds heavier than I am now. I went through a lot of the things that the people that are watching are going through. And I just said, you know what? I'm not going back. I'm not going to lose weight. I'm not going to deprive myself. I'm going to change my life. And when you decide you're going to change your life changes. And you say no with ease. And you say, and occasionally something slips in and you just say, you know what? I choose no. Right. And when you get on track with each choice, if you dig into the 100-year lifestyle and you spend time on the 3 life-changing principles, and I'll go through them really quickly because we don't have that much time. The first one is change is easy. Thinking about change is hard. The next one is change comes one choice at a time. Think progress, not perfection. So don't beat yourself up because you're not perfect. Just get back on track with your next choice. And then if you're going to make a change, make it with your ideal 100-year lifestyle in mind so that you have a long-term vision that is compelling, that motivates you to stay on track. And, you know, listen, you're attracting warriors here. You're attracting warriors that are getting more wisdom every single day as they're on this planet dealing with the craziness of the world. We need you around for a long time. We need wisdom in the world. We don't need just fresh ideas. We need that too, but we need wisdom. So we need you healthy. So I think it's worth it. You're worth it. No question about it. And I'm just going to say one other thing about chiropractic care, because I do think it's important. A lot of people in their healthcare premises, they are crisis motivated. We have in our 100-year lifestyle offices that we have around the country, we have a lifestyle care continuum, and it's crisis care, critical transition, lifestyle care. Those are the 3 pieces. And most people live from crisis to crisis. Right. Well, our goal is we'll see you in crisis if that's why you come in, and we're great at helping you get out of those crises. But what our goal is, and we attract a lot of lifestyle care people. What really is important for people that want to make change is making that critical transition from crisis care to lifestyle care. Because when you do that and you make everything that's good for you a part of your lifestyle, and you do it over time is on your side, your body will change. I'm a 59-year-old man. I'm on 0 medication. I have no medical history. I have 0 medical history. And when I say I have 0 medical history, that doesn't mean I haven't maybe needed a medical history. I had a concussion 6 years ago. A lot of people would have went to the hospital. It would have went to here. Now, listen, if you have blood and guts all over the place, you need to go get that crisis care, 100%. I had an injury. I couldn't see where I was. I was completely disoriented. I went to my chiropractors. They x-rayed me. They took care of me. There was no blood and guts. I didn't need stitches. I wasn't on death's door. So I went. My chiropractor has been my primary care provider since I'm 15 years old. I went to the medical doctor when I was way back when. I can't even remember, just because I think my mom took me when I was 15, maybe that time that I got injured in the hospital there playing football. And so, but since then, I haven't really ever needed to go. So when my dental hygienist said, "Do you have a medical history?" I said, "No, I don't have a medical history." And so it's important. My chiropractor has been my primary healthcare provider. My chiropractor knows when it's time for me to go somewhere else if I need to see somebody differently. We're not stupid. We're not foolish. We're doctors. We know when you need different types of care. We refer out when necessary. But you know what? If your body's functioning and you understand the principles of time and you know how to take care of yourself and you learn because you're engaged and you make that transition from crisis care to lifestyle care, it will blow you away. And what we always say in the 100-year lifestyle is healthier going into something, quicker getting out of something.
Yep.
We have people that had healthy spines and nervous system. They get in accidents and they get over it quickly. People that have unhealthy spines and nervous systems, they get sicknesses, diseases, they get injuries. It takes them so much longer because they were not as healthy going in. So when the pandemic hit, we wrote an ebook called Becoming a Least Vulnerable Person. We're giving it away, by the way. It's called Becoming a Least Vulnerable Person. If you go to 100yearlifestyle.com It'll pop up. We'll give it to you for free. There's so many different points that will help you keep yourself healthy and make that transition from crisis care to lifestyle care. And you'll like the changes. You'll feel younger every day, regardless of your age.
Wonderful. That's fantastic. And at this moment, we're going to take a quick little break. When we get back, I'd love for you to go into a little bit more about how to become a least vulnerable person. I really like that idea very much. After the break.
If this content resonates with you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel at uimedianetwork.org to stay updated with our uncensored shows. Also, like and follow us at UI Media Network on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and almost all your favorite podcasting platforms. Most importantly, if you're being censored on social media, write to us at contact@uimedianetwork.org to get your message out. And remember, keep raising that frequency.
Welcome back to The People's Truth with Tia Severino. My guest today is Dr. Eric Plasker. We've been talking about how would you live your life if you knew that you were going to live to be 100 years old? Would you take better care of yourself? Would you have a better lifestyle? And so right before the break, Dr. Eric, you were talking about how to become a least vulnerable person. We've definitely heard a lot about protecting the vulnerable in this last year, right? I mean, it was all about protect the vulnerable. Let's lock down to keep grandma safe. Anyone who died from the bug and not from any of their other underlying health conditions. In fact, we really didn't hear a lot about the vulnerable, except other than we have to protect the vulnerable, because it was just constantly, this is how many people have died, this is how many people have died, this is how many people have died. And there was no conversation at all about how to be not that vulnerable person, How do you create kind of a shield around yourself so that you can go out into the world? You don't have to live in instead of living in a bubble, live with a shield of health. And then, they flipped the script, of course, after they got the experiment approved, to where anyone who unfortunately passes after they've taken part in the experiment, they died from underlying health conditions. So then again, we're back to this, the vulnerable. No discussion at all about how to not be vulnerable. So with that, let's talk about that. What can you share about not being a vulnerable person? Not for
I think
but for anything.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And it was very frustrating to me because, like it was to you, I mean, listen, if you're doing things that, for example, some of the things that make you a more vulnerable person are things like obesity. Mm-hmm. One study was done where 2.2 million out of 2.5 million people that died, there was at one point in the ridiculousness of all of that, with 2.2 million out of the 2.5 million that have died from whatever it is they said they died from, that ridiculousness, false diagnosis that so many of them got. Mm-hmm. They actually, 2.2 million of them were obese. Wow. Obesity is a vulnerability. We have a very obese country, and it was very frustrating to me. I think the catalyst for me writing this book was I was online in a grocery store. There was a woman in front of me. She was wearing a mask, and I was not wearing a mask. I'm not a masker. Haven't been a masker. I like oxygen. I think oxygen's a really good thing. Oxygen matters. It's important. And so I was behind her and I was smiling, and she's looking at me with evil eyes because I don't have a mask on, and she's got a grocery cart. She's about 100 pounds overweight, and she's got a grocery cart filled with, I'm not exaggerating, about 20 bottles of Coca-Cola, all sizes. And I'm looking at her, and she's like, what's wrong with you? You're an evil, selfish person. I'm like, why am I selfish? I'm not selfish. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm not hurting you. You're vulnerable. I'm not vulnerable. I'm not worried. I actually am a very compassionate man. I care about the world. I'm helping people every day. And I realized at that point is that the world needed to understand we needed a war on vulnerabilities. Not a war on germs.
Right.
The war on germs is a faulty premise. It is a completely misguided representation of why people get sick. We can talk about that too in a little bit. But so I realized, okay, so obesity, that's a vulnerability. It makes people more vulnerable. People sitting too much. People are at their desks all day long. Yeah. Excessive sitting. They say sitting is the new smoking. That's a vulnerability that will make you more vulnerable. Unhealthy thoughts make you more vulnerable. Research shows that if you're negative thinking and you're toxic thinking, it will make your body more vulnerable, that your mind-body connection, your thoughts will impact your body and your body's immune health. We talked about in this book, and I got the list right here, the germ theory versus the terrain theory.
Yep.
I mean, listen, the germ theory is a faulty premise. This is a great story. I was walking around my pool deck just before I wrote this ebook. And I'm walking around and I see this worm crawling along. And it was a healthy, happy worm. It was a very, very hot, sunny day. I got stone patio near my pool. And so I see the worm. I say, worm. I take notice. I go about my business. I come back an hour and a half later. The worm is dead, curled up with ants crawling all over the worm. So my question is, what killed the worm? And the answer is not the ants.
Right.
The ants did not kill the worm. There were no ants present before the worm got vulnerable. The worm got vulnerable because it got dehydrated, it got hot, it got worn out. The ants said, hey, meal, wow, worm. They all showed up in droves, crawled all over. That's what bacteria and viruses are in the body, basically, scavengers. And so people that are more vulnerable because they're unhealthy, because they haven't taken care of themselves with some of the other things that we just talked about, they become susceptible to everything, to flus, pneumonias, every kind of booger, every kind of germ, every kind of everything. And it's not the germ's fault. When you make yourself less vulnerable, your body becomes healthier. And so how do you make yourself less vulnerable? Well, let me tell you one other thing that is not a cause of vulnerability. Aging doesn't have to be a cause of vulnerability. Aging has gotten a bad rap. There are a lot of 100-year-old people in some of the lectures that we give all over the country and all over the world. We talk about and we show pictures and images, people all over the world, over 100 years old, that got diagnosed with COVID and ended up healing and got back into their life. I'm not taking away from the people that passed. I'm a very sensitive, compassionate, loving man. I really am. So I'm not trying to be a jerk in any way. My heart goes out to anybody everywhere that's lost something, anything, anytime. I believe that it's my compassion and my empathy that makes me so passionate about what I do, because so much of the misinformation and misguidedness is leading people to poor choices. So we're addressing these vulnerabilities. And I'll tell you what just happened that as it relates to life expectancy and vulnerability, because it's not just life expectancy that has gone down. We have seen in the last couple of years, we have seen the worst drop in life expectancy since World War II, according to the research. And I just gave this lecture. I was a keynote speaker at a national convention just recently in Florida, FCA, and about 300 plus doctors in the room. And it hit me after I quoted this statistic to you when I showed the slide and I said, life expectancy is has its sharpest decline since World War II. And I kept on going. And then when I got off the stage, I realized, oh my God, what happened in World War II? What happened in World War II? Well, we had a world war and a Holocaust. So here we are, 2021. We have the worst drop in life expectancy since World War II. And what happened in World War II? A world war and a Holocaust. And I believe right now, Tia, we are in the middle of a world war and a Holocaust right now.
I would.
And so, and we're getting early evidence on, if we could just realize it, Tia, and we could wake up and say, oh my goodness gracious, that it's not aging's fault. It's not the 100-year-old people's fault. It's not age. It's not age's fault. It is the vulnerability's fault. And we are doing things that are causing so many interferences and problems to our health in our bodies that are very dangerous. And you can take control by making yourself less vulnerable, keeping your spine and nervous system aligned, balanced. We've talked about that. Chiropractic care, staying away from medications and drugs. We talked, pre-show, we talked about when Lisa and I, when we raised our kids, we raised them literally because I was in school from 1982 to 1985 at Life University in Atlanta, which the movie 1986, The Act, the great documentary that Andy Wakefield put out, that documentary was, I lived that. All those, when you see and you're looking inside and you see in that great film, you see all the people protesting. I was the redheaded Afro-headed kid somewhere in that crowd. And I didn't go to school for that. I went to school to help football players get back on the field. Mm-hmm. But I learned at a very young age that you can't trust pharma, that, right. And what I say now, and I said this when all of this started, early 2020, I said, if 1986 was the act where they remove liability from the drug companies for all of these things that they're trying to mandate, if 1986 was the act, 2020 was the coup.
Right.
And we're seeing it more and more right now. And when I got into practice in 1986, they had just started because they got released from liability. Overuse of antibiotics, overuse of all these medications, overuse of your schedule of the things that you were required to do as a parent. And we raised our kids without that. We made the choice. Hey, no shots, no drugs, no pediatricians, unless for a life-threatening emergency. We thought and we knew that if we had common sense, if we had a tape measure, if we had a scale, and we had common sense and a good chiropractor, that we would not need all of those things. And you know what? Let me tell you something. Our common sense was the best pediatrician, I believe, that maybe ever lived. His name was Robert Mendelsohn. A lot of you know him. He wrote the book, Confessions of a Medical Heretic. He wrote the book, Male Practice, How Doctors Manipulate Women. And he wrote the book, How to Raise a Healthy Child in Spite of Your Doctor. And he became the people's doctor. That's what he became known as, the people's doctor. And so he was our doctor. And we still give out that book all the time to our patients because we realize that, you know what? We trust Mother Nature more than we trust all of those things that are created in a laboratory. And you know what? We probably had, and our kids are now 31, 30, and 28. I bet with all three of our kids in all of those years, we probably had maybe 3, maybe 5. My wife and I argue over it. How many pediatrician visits did we make? 3? No, 5. No, 3. No, 2. No, 4. But it was not a lot. Because we were well adjusted, we ate healthy, we nursed. And you know what? We need to get back to that. We need to get back to that. And you know what's fun for me now, 35 years in, with the wisdom of 35 years, I got to tell you, we are speaking it more than ever. We have people that have been under our care for 30 years in our practice that they're healthier than they've ever been. They raise their families this way. There's a whole generation of people that raise their families that way. And quite honestly, we need to, because the current medical establishment, in my humble opinion, my experienced opinion, my wisdom opinion, they are in trouble. Because the average doctor, sure, there are some warrior doctors out there, medical doctors out there, but the average doctor, the average MD has become a pharma puppet. And they don't know anything about healing. They know how to manipulate a symptom. They know how to treat a condition. They know how to take something out. But they don't really understand how to keep the body healthy and what it takes to keep the body healthy. That's why our profession is booming in so many ways. I give a talk at Life University where they have prospective students come in. It's a life leadership weekend, and they have amazing numbers of people considering chiropractic as a career. People are dissatisfied, disenchanted with modern medicine like never before. I believe the pediatric industry is probably more in trouble than any other industry because they have nothing to create revenue at this point except bonuses for inoculations or shots.
Wow. You know, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, you're absolutely 100% right. I did a seminar a few years back called Next Steps to Health Freedom, and it was 5 workshops, and it was a vaccine primer was the first workshop. So basically everything you need to know about, exemptions, how injury occurs, and the legal side, the legal and medical side. And then this, should you fire your pediatrician, was the second workshop, which is basically featuring chiropractors and natural health. Because we don't need those doctors. We don't need the allopathic doctors. They're not helping, right? And
unless there's a life-threatening emergency.
Right, exactly. And then get off the bus, which was about homeschooling, unschooling, anything other than public school. It Takes a Village was about community building, forming tribes, and then how to be an effective activist. So I've been for many years saying, fire your pediatrician, take your kids out of the state-sponsored indoctrination camps, pull that pin out of the wheel. The wheels fall off. If you just remove those 2 pins, the doctor and the schools, they have no power over you as far as trying to force you to comply with their tyrannical directives from the CDC. So we've got one more break. When we come back, so hold that thought. When we come back from this break, we're going to wrap things up. We're going to talk about action steps, solutions, things that you can do to really take control of your life, to live the best life that you can, no matter how old you end up being. Right after the break.
Sounds great.
I believe when we look back at this will be a tragic moment in American history, not because of a virus, because of how we dealt with it. I believe you will see more death and destruction clearly from the lockdowns and the masking than you would have ever seen from the virus. But frankly, in a free country, I should have been allowed to choose. If Ebola is sweeping the nation, if I want to take my risk with it and see if I can develop immunity, that is my choice. And if you're afraid of it, that's your choice. There should be devices and ways that you can hide if that's how you want to deal with it, but you cannot force me to suffer your hypochondria. You cannot force me to not breathe the air on the planet we live on. It is not right. And this whole idea that your health is my responsibility, I don't believe that that is true. But let me be perfectly clear. If your health is my responsibility, then I'm not starting at the moment that your alcoholism and your cigarette smoking and your Dorito eating, McDonald's eating lifestyle led you to heart disease, cancer, COPD, and diabetes. And at that moment, you now sit in a high-risk group to a common cold that isn't going to affect me, but could kill you because your immune system is shutting down. If your health truly is my responsibility, we're going to start earlier. We're going to start when you walk out of the grocery store and I see Doritos and Coke and orange drink and Fruit Loops and all the crap I see people giving their children, and I'm going to call that child abuse. Go ahead, eat, drink, be merry, but don't make your health my responsibility.
Thanks for sticking around to watch this episode of The People's Truth with Tia Severino. If you're enjoying this content, you'll want to head over to uimedianetwork.org for other thought-provoking, uplifting, and insightful programming. With social media overlords censoring our every move, we really need your help getting this word out there. So be sure to share to your friends, family, and wider social media following. We're going to wrap up this final segment with Dr. Eric Plasker of the 100-Year Lifestyle by talking about ways that you can really take hold of some solutions, some real action items. And we'll talk a little bit too about, Dr. Eric, before the show, we were discussing the declaration of war that occurred yesterday by our current resident of the White House and how absolutely devastating that is. And it's so moving in the opposite direction of where we want to go to live healthy lifestyles. So we can talk about that. Let's kind of blend together solutions, action items, and any last thoughts that you have about that.
Well, thank you for mentioning that. And it was great listening to Del, by the way, on during the break. And I got the chance to share the platform with him multiple times in different places, got to interview him several times when the craziness started. I reached out, we had a great interview and we called all of these things. And so, I appreciate the work that so many people are doing to fight against and fight in this war against common sense and our freedoms. And I think what's really important is that, I've heard you call it, I think early on, you said this nonsense. And it's no sense. It's nonsense. It is no sense. We need to get back to start trusting our innate intelligence, trusting our instinct. Again, lies have to be taught to people. Truth is spontaneous. Lies cost $1 trillion. Truth is spontaneous. We have to get centered. And so one of the things that we can do literally for all of us that we need to do is develop a long-term vision, get a long-term vision, make it compelling. For me, what gets me up every day, I go to bed because I do believe we are at war. One of the things that is, for a long time, a lot of people said, oh, we're not at war. We're not at war. Now they're saying, wow, we are at war. Mm-hmm. Well, the other side, good war strategy is having the other side not know you're at war for as long as possible. That's a really good war strategy. Yep. Well, the people are waking up, and I love that the people are waking up. And so as we wake up, we have to realize we have to accept the reality of what's going on in the present while also creating a compelling future. When I say for me, what's a compelling future? It's probably different than it is for you. Maybe we share some similarities. I have 3 children. They're adult children. I hope to have grandchildren one day. I want them to grow up in a free country. So I wake up every day. I go to sleep tired every day now, and I wake up inspired every day because I have a long-term vision that's compelling. I've been very blessed. My wife and I have been married 33 years. I'd like to continue on that. I'd like to share all those great times in the future together. I love to travel. I want to travel the world. I have traveled the world. I've spoken all over the world. I want to travel the world more. I want to take my grandchildren traveling around the world. I want to do that. That's a compelling vision. What's your compelling vision? I have great friends that I enjoy spending time with. I'm just at 59 years old. I'm just figuring a few things out. I've done a lot of valuable things in the world, but I'm actually just figuring a few things out next level. I'm not retiring. I'm not putting my wisdom on a shelf. I want to take it out for a test drive and see where it leads. And so I think for all of you, you have some level of compelling vision that you need to begin to explore so that you get fired up when you get up in the morning and you have something to live for. And then age won't mean anything. So that's the first thing I would tell you to do is create a compelling vision. And whatever it takes to make it happen. A lot of people are afraid because they have relationships that disagree with how they think about things right now. I understand that. But as soon as you accept the reality that you have a different opinion and you're willing to be vocal about it and stand up for it, and you feel like if you do that, you're going to lose the relationships that you have. Well, you may lose some of them. You won't lose all of them. You will lose some of them. They will definitely be different, but you will open yourself up to a whole world of relationships of people that share beliefs, they share wisdom, they share experiences, they have the same desires, goals that you might have. And I invite everybody to explore those things. We do a training called Speak Up and Lead. In fact, we're going to do a free webinar. If you get our ebook, if you go to 100yearlifestyle.com and you download Becoming a Least Vulnerable Person, we will put you on our email list and we'll let you know sometime within the next 6 weeks, we're going to have a free webinar on Speak Up and Lead, finding your voice in a cancel culture world. And it will be very empowering for all of you because when you begin to verbalize and define your compelling vision, you say, okay, well, do I want to be sick? Do I want to rot away for decades in life as a human preservative on 20 medications like the rest of the world? And the answer to that question is going to be no. So what's the answer to the question again? Then it's going to be, well, then I need to do something different. I need to live differently. How do I live my life medication free? I mean, again, my father, he had a heart attack at 49. I'm 59. I didn't have a heart attack at 49. My father got on medication at 49, cholesterol medication. It caused his Alzheimer's. He ended up dying at 78. He didn't know his family from the time he was 68 because he got on a medication that he thought was going to keep him from dying, but it actually caused him to rot away. None of these medicines, none of them. Polypharmacy is one of the things that make you a more vulnerable person. You'll see it when you get your ebook. So avoid that. Choose a different path. Live a lifestyle that will support you and not becoming dependent on those things. So create a compelling vision. Start doing the things that are good for you, that make you least vulnerable, make them a part of your lifestyle. Start eliminating the things that make you more vulnerable so that you're not becoming weaker as you age. Get your chiropractor as your primary healthcare provider. Keep yourself aligned, balanced, your nervous system working. Cleanse your body, and when necessary, we have a cleansing program that we do in our office. A lot of doctors, chiropractors do that as well. Keep your body clean. Get your strength back, and you'll be amazed at how much younger you feel. You do that every day. If you get on this path, do just some of those basic things, you will, at the end of the day, today even, starting today, if you finish your day doing what we just said, you'll feel younger tomorrow than you did today. And then if you do it again, you'll feel younger than you did 2 days ago. And if you do it for a month, you'll feel younger in 30 days than you do today. And if you do it for a year, 5 years, and 10 years, you'll feel younger every day and every year, regardless of your age.
Fantastic. Okay, so we just have a couple of minutes left. Before we go, I just want to bring up something that I think that needs to be discussed, especially with what's going on right now. And that is, it's not something that you mentioned, but I think it bears putting out there. And that is that your mental state has a direct impact on your experience in life. So a lot of people right now are living in fear. That's what this whole last 18 months has been about. It's been about terrifying people into compliance. Okay, so for me, it's very important to stress that when you're in fear, you are not healthy. It is an unhealthy mindset, and it will weaken your immune system. It will make you make poor choices. It will, even if you do everything else right, even if you're in balance and you're eating healthy and you're exercising and you're doing everything else in your life, if you are living in a state of perpetual fear, you will not be healthy. Okay. And because they're using fear to drive compliance, which is why I'm wearing my button today, because of the declaration of war that was declared yesterday, which I got this from my girl, Leanne Anita Ducat, up in Connecticut when she came down to the CDC to speak truth to power. And it's an upside down flag, which is a sign of distress. And it says, I do not consent. And that's my response to you, Biden and company. I do not consent. So we must not also, I do not consent also for me means more than I'm not going to take your experimental gene modification. I'm not going to put a mask on my face and rebreathe my own bacteria and carbon dioxide and weaken my immune system. But I'm not going to comply with this fear tactic of trying to corral me into behaving in a certain way because you've told me that there is some invisible germ out there that could kill me. There's a lot of germs in the world, and we can't live completely isolated from germs. As a matter of fact, the argument could be made that we are more germ than we are human cells. We are more germ than we are human cells. So with that, to wrap things up, if you'd like to go out on fear, what you think of that, and give everybody your website again and how they can get in touch with you on the way out from the show.
Beautiful. Well, well said. And we're going to go out with faith over fear. We're going to definitely do that. There is no question about it. And when you do the things that make you less vulnerable, you have more faith. you have less fear. And really, faith and fear is a moment-to-moment choice. Fear is an addiction to many people. Social media is an addiction to many people. The trillions of dollars that have been spent to buy your brain, you have to take your brain back. You have to take your heart back. And if you get in action instead of just sitting still, the faith will come, the fear will go away. And it honestly, it's a moment-to-moment choice. You have to earn your freedom within yourself, which is really important. We have a podcast, by the way, that's 100-Year Lifestyle Podcast. And if you go there, you can get it from the website. 100yearlifestyle.com is the website. There are great articles. There's The Epidemic of Fear is a great article. There's a couple of The Fear is a Weapon is another great article on 100yearlifestyle.com. And one of the podcasts, it's on habit patterns that energy patterns. I forget the title of it, but it's somewhere around number 15, where I talk about how you can go from a destructive energy pattern within yourself and take your power back to eliminate fear and create your own human potential pattern. And every one of you could do that. And if you start on it today, everything we've just talked about is applicable. And I agree with you on everything you said related to what's going on in the world. We decided we weren't going to talk about that as much as the solutions, but we could spend 10 hours on that. For sure. Because what's going on in the world is crazy. And listen, we have to win, Tia. We have to win. Our motto, 100% for 100 years. It sure beats 71% for 83 years. And we want people living at 100% for 100 years, functioning at their highest level for a lifetime. And I want to live in a world where we are transforming health and longevity worldwide, where people are living differently. And that world that we create together with this mindset and this spirit of this side that will win. We are the majority. We just need to speak up and lead. I'm telling you, but we have to make that happen. So we have to fight, we have to win, get in action. And it's such an honor to be a part of your show, your life, your journey. You're a true warrior for so many of us, the people's truth. I'm all about it. So proud of you. So proud of everybody for being on the line, and great to be a part of your life today. And come visit us at 100-Year Lifestyle. We'd love to be a part of your journey more.
Thanks again, Dr. Eric. Well, you heard it, you guys. This is about living your best life, getting out of fear, getting into alignment with who you are supposed to be, living your life starting today as if you would live for 100 years. Like, how much better would you take care of yourself? And folks, we really have to take this generation back. We have to, because our society will not survive. If Joe Biden gets his wishes, and every single person, and if Bill Gates gets his wishes, and every single person on the planet has to take part in this experiment, we won't have a society. There will be no coming generation. It will be over. So you guys hold the line, stand firm, and we'll see you again next week on The People's Truth. Love you.
Whoa, my mind has officially been blown wide open. As yours? Keep sharing the show and join us in our mission to educate the world with uncensored truth. As they say, together we are stronger, our voices louder, and the synergy of our actions more powerful. If you have any comments or questions for Tia and her guests, send us an email at contact@uimedianetwork.org. Until then, stay safe, stay tuned. The UI Media Network and its associates take no responsibility for the opinions and statements made by the talk show hosts or their guests.